I'm Chris Lee at Vandy Sports, here to break down what Clark Lea said at his press conference on Tuesday, October the 26th, before the Missouri game. First big thing, people are wondering about personnel, and particularly the quarterback. Ken Seals is listed on the depth chart in an or situation with Mike Wright. Well, if you listen to Clark Lea on Tuesday, it sounds like Seals is not going to play. He said that he's not going to be back till he's 100%. Listening to his comments, it did not sound like Ken Seals would be back this week. He listed Jeremy Musa as the backup, even though Musa is technically third on the school's depth chart. So I would look for Mike Wright to play on Saturday and Jeremy Musa to be the backup based on what Clark Lea said today. Now, a few other players, DeRicky Wright is one that I think people are interested in. DeRicky did not play last week through I don't know if you'd call it a suspension or whatever, but in any case, there was some sort of a violation of team standards, and DeRicky Wright was not available. Clark Lea clarified today that DeRicky Wright will not be available for the coming game. So DeRicky Wright, who frankly was Vanderbilt's best defensive player 2 weeks ago against South Carolina, will not be playing on Saturday, and that's a big blow for the Missouri game, especially with the way Missouri can move the ball. Ben Cox, who's been a starter at guard, also is day-to-day, so it sounded hopeful that he might play, but that sounds based on how he recovers later in the week. It sounds like right now he won't play, but if he gets better, you could see him on Saturday. I had some questions about passing philosophy that I'll get into in just a minute, but a couple other depth chart notes. Corners, you've still got Marlon Sewell and Tyson Russell, two freshmen who were listed on the depth chart this week, so I would continue to think those guys will play. At left guard, you see Cole Clemens listed ahead of Bryce Bailey. That's no surprise. Right guard, they've got Delphin Xavier Castillo as the starter at right guard. No surprise. Castillo would be the guy who would take over for Cox if Cox isn't available. So nothing on the depth chart that really sticks out. I'm beginning to find out that the depth chart isn't always reflective of what they're going to do. Maybe not as bad as Derek Mason's was. But again, you see on here Ken Seals listed in an or situation with Wright, and clearly if you listen to Clark today, it sounded like Seals won't be available and is not the backup. He would be starting if he's healthy, but right now they list him as a co-starter, even though it sounds like he's probably not going to play. So when you look at the depth chart, just know that it may not always tell you exactly what is going on, and if you ask some clarifying questions like we did today, you can get more on that. In terms of passing philosophy, I asked Clark Lea about that. It's been noted by a lot of people that they don't use the middle of the field. The hash marks in particular, just kind of the area between them goes ignored. I asked Clark Lea about that today. He said that's not planned. He said sometimes it's the quarterback reads that they have guys open in the middle of the field, and he pointed out Ben Bresnahan and Devin Body as being open on certain plays last week, and the quarterbacks just didn't see them. He also said that the quarterbacks are going to have to learn to step up in the pocket and not flee the pocket. And you've seen that out of Mike Wright a lot. You've seen it from Ken Seals some too. And so he said that the quarterbacks are going to have to step up in the pocket a little bit more. That's part of the issue. Obviously, when you step outside the pocket and you roll one way, that cuts down half the field. They don't want their quarterbacks throwing back over the middle into the hash marks, and I don't blame him for that. So I thought Clark Lea had a really good explanation for why the passing game has been what it is. He said they don't design plays necessarily that way. They do try to get the ball to guys in space outside, but listening to him, it sounds like they'd like to use the middle of the field more than they do. Finally, Clark Lea was asked about mistakes. He said at least they are not doing some of the self-inflicted things that they did earlier in the year with the pre-snap penalties, and he called it self-sabotage. He's right about that. You don't see as much of that. No, he mentioned they are making mistakes in other places, and you can hear that on his press conference, which we've got on our YouTube channel. So if you're watching this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps us out. It helps us being able to monetize our work here. But anyway, not a whole lot of new news In the press conference today, if you're catching this late, again, it sounds like Mike Wright is going to be the quarterback on Saturday with Jeremy Musa backing up, and that DeRicky Wright will not be available. I'm Chris Lee for Vandy Sports. Thanks for watching. We'll have more videos coming after Saturday's game with Missouri.